Let's talk about one of the most audacious missions in human history, Voyager 2. This wasn't just about launching a probe into the blackness of space. Oh no. This was about pulling off an interplanetary billiard shot with a level of precision that is just mind-boggling. And to really get a feel for that achievement, we've got to start with where Voyager 2 is right now. Okay, just to set the stage, let's try to wrap our heads around the scale we're dealing with. As we speak, Voyager 2 is about 20 billion kilometers away from us. That is so ridiculously far that it's actually left our solar system entirely. It's out there, right now, cruising through the space between the stars. So the question is, how in the world did NASA manage to do that with 1970s technology? You see, this whole mission was born out of a massive challenge and a fleeting, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If you want to explore the outer solar system, those giant gas planets, you first have to overcome the most powerful force around, the sun's immense gravity. So the very first hurdle was just figuring out how to escape its pull. The challenge is a lot easier to picture with an analogy. So think of this sun's gravity like a super deep well, or maybe a giant hill. Earth, and Voyager launching from it, are way down at the bottom of that well. To even get started on a journey to the outer planets, the probe needed a colossal amount of energy just to climb that hill and break free. And this is where the numbers really put the problem into perspective. The most powerful rocket they had could give Voyager a push of about 10 kilometers per second. Okay, not bad. Now, you get a free boost from Earth's own speed as it orbits the sun. That's a speedy 30 kilometers per second. So, add them together, you get 40. But here's the kicker. The speed you actually need to escape the sun's gravity is 42 kilometers per second. They were still short. A rocket alone just wasn't going to cut it. But then, a NASA engineer discovered what you could basically call a cosmic cheat code. A super rare alignment of the four outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, was coming up. This kind of thing only happens once every 75 years. And it opened up the incredible possibility of a grand tour, where a single spacecraft could visit all four of those giants in one go. The key to pulling off this grand tour wasn't a bigger, more powerful rocket. It was a technique that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction, the gravity slingshot, or what scientists call a gravity assist. This was the secret weapon that would give Voyager the extra oomph it so desperately needed. So how does this magic trick work? Well, it's actually this incredibly elegant cosmic dance. First, you don't aim right at the planet. You aim for where it's going to be. As Voyager gets close, it starts to fall into the planet's powerful gravity. But here is the genius part. Because the planet itself is zipping along in its orbit at an incredible speed, Voyager essentially steals a tiny little bit of its massive orbital energy. And the result? It gets flung out the other side, not just on a new path, but at a much, much higher speed. The first and most critical test of this idea was Jupiter. By the time Voyager had traveled all the way to Jupiter, it had actually slowed way down, falling well below the speed needed to escape the sun. But then, Jupiter's massive gravity took hold. It pulled Voyager in and basically multiplied the probe's speed with the planet's own. After that one flyby, Voyager was finally moving fast enough to escape the solar system for good. Okay, but having a brilliant plan is one thing. Actually executing it is a whole other story. This gravity assist thing wasn't just a blunt force maneuver. To make the entire grand tour work, every single flyby had to be pulled off with an almost unbelievable level of precision. And when I say the margin for error was small, I mean it was practically non-existent. We're talking about a spacecraft that's traveling millions and millions of kilometers through deep space. If the calculations were off by even the tiniest fraction, the whole mission, forget Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, it would all be over. To get that perfect gravity assist from Jupiter, Voyager had to fly through an imaginary corridor in space that was just 150 kilometers wide. To put that into perspective, Jupiter itself is almost 140,000 kilometers across. That is the absolute definition of threading the needle. And it wasn't just about location, it was about timing. Voyager had to hit that precise spot in that 150-kilometer corridor within a time window of just over a single second. Any earlier, any later, and the trajectory to Saturn would be totally wrong. So it just begs the question, right? With no GPS and computers less powerful than your phone, how on earth was this even possible? Well, the answer lies in a brilliantly simple and incredibly robust set of tools that were built right into the spacecraft. So here's the toolkit.
You've got these tiny thrusters firing in little millisecond pulses that let you control which way the probe is pointing and make tiny course corrections. Then you have the eyes of the spacecraft. A sun sensor, which does exactly what it sounds like. It finds the brightest thing in the sky, the sun, and locks on. Then a star tracker finds a specific, known star to keep the craft from rolling. And just in case, there was a gyroscope for backup. The key to keeping Voyager stable was just genius in its simplicity. By locking onto the sun, it fixed its orientation up, down, and left, right, which crucially also kept its main antenna pointed right back at Earth. The star tracker would then lock onto a known star, 90 degrees away, which fixed the final axis, preventing it from rolling. Together, these two things gave Voyager a perfectly stable anchor point in the vast emptiness of space. So, the billion-dollar question. Did it work? Oh yeah, it worked. Absolutely perfectly. After a journey of nearly 2 years, Voyager threaded that 150-kilometer needle at Jupiter. It arrived just 60 kilometers off its target point and only 1.4 seconds behind schedule. Just an absolutely staggering feat of engineering. That successful Jupiter flyby wasn't the end of the challenge, not even close. It was the key that unlocked the rest of the Grand Tour. Now Voyager was perfectly lined up to completely rewrite our understanding of the outer solar system. And it all built up to one final, really unique planetary flyby. And the mission itself was this epic 12-year odyssey. You had the launch in 77, Jupiter in 79, Saturn in 81, Uranus in 86, and finally Neptune a full decade later in 1989. Each flyby built on the success of the last, sending back these incredible images and data that completely changed how we saw these distant worlds. But you know, that final gravity assist at Neptune was different. By that point, Voyager didn't really need any more speed. It was already on a trajectory to leave the solar system. The goal this time was a really dramatic change of direction, because scientists desperately wanted to get a close-up look at Neptune's weird and mysterious moon, Triton. To get to Triton, which orbits at this really steep angle, they had to do something radical. Instead of the typical slingshot from behind the planet, the mission planners sent Voyager screaming over Neptune's north pole. This wild maneuver used the planet's gravity to bend its path sharply downwards, putting it on a perfect course for a close encounter with Triton just 5 hours later. And here's the thing that's truly mind-bending. This epic 12-year Grand Tour, one of humanity's greatest voyages of discovery, was really just the beginning. It represents just the first tiny fraction of Voyager's true lifelong journey into the cosmos. And that leaves us with this final, kind of awe-inspiring thought. Voyager 2 was designed to last 5 years and maybe visit 2 planets. It's now been flying for over 4 decades. It's visited 4 planets, and it's become humanity's first emissary to the stars. Its primary mission is long over, but its journey of discovery, that has really only just begun.